Hi guys, welcome to a new demo series today, a demo of a new series. Today we'll be playing Valentine Story's Necromancy. I really haven't heard much about this game up until just a few days ago, or maybe a couple weeks, I forget. But they just released a new demo for it, and I'm pretty excited because I really like I really like BL stories that seem to actually have a story. I didn't say that. I really like BL visual novels that seem to have a real story. So I'm pretty excited. Maybe I should turn the music down a little. Is that good? I think that's fine. Okay, like, I don't know exactly what it means by tutorial. Like, what kind of, what kind of mechanics are going to be in this game that I need a tutorial for them? Like, I have no idea. I really haven't been following this game. Okay, well, it doesn't look like, all that complicated for a tutorial. Just basic visual novel stuff. At least so far. Ooh, I don't know what voice to give this narrator. When I left, I said goodbye to my dad, the same way I would have if I were leaving for only a few hours, with a wave and a smile. He waved back and told me again how proud of me he was when the cart started to move. It was the first time I left someone wondering if I were to see them again someday. It never felt so hard holding back tears, and as soon as I couldn't see him anymore, I bursted into tears like a 4-year-old brat. Luckily, I was the only passenger at that time. I grew up in Luele, a small town near a huge lake, which name I have forgotten. Because it wasn't as cold as the rest of the continent, my the first farmer of my family decided to live here. It was but a survival instinct. Everywhere else in Archon was just freezing cold. I don't know about the rest of the world, but I'm sure our continent is the coldest. It only takes 6,500 feet for the snow to stop melting. The wind killed more men than all the war we have known, and the lands are almost always frozen. The climate is so cold, fruits are now luxury products. 2 days hadn't passed when I felt the difference. I was used to wearing a simple long-sleeved leather jacket to keep me from the cold, and I was quickly undeceived. I laughed when my mom put furs and scarves and gloves and other things I never needed inside my bags. I was going to apologize to her in the first letter I would send her. I would be a lie without them. Her goodbyes were endless. She gave me the longest hug I ever had, and I had to promise I would take care at least 6 times, and my cheek became red under her kisses. I missed her already. All along, the days I saw many people join and leave the cart. Some were traveling from one town to the other, and others like me aimed for the capital. Being numerous didn't help the fact that the road was boring. I don't know if it was the freezing temperature or all those endless days spent sitting, but no one talked except for the few that got in together. It was weird having someone so close to me in the narrow space of the cart, and still feel all alone. From the beginning to the end, nothing but sinister atmosphere and freezing cold. The trip was endless to say the least. I ended up closing my eyes, thinking about my departure and what happened since. Oh, what? That was. Hey, you can't just interrupt me like that. I ended up closing my eyes, thinking about my departure and what happened since, as the way to avoid looking at the landscape. What's happening? Well, been daydreaming, young man. Yes, a little. Is everything alright? Why did we stop? I looked around in case the answer was just in front of me. My heart went crazy when I saw, further away, the fortifications of the city beyond the snow. I couldn't stop myself and let out a happy, triumphant sound, glad to see the trip was ending. Finally, can we get down?
No, not yet. We still have about 20 minutes to get to the main entrance.
Oh. The old man crushed my hopes and dreams with an amused tone. His smile grew when he saw me lose mine, and I heard some travelers giggle. Why did you want to get out now anyway? You said you see it in the distance. Are you going to walk the rest of the way? Then why did we stop? Keep your composure, Rave. Keep composure. His fringe is all in his face.
You didn't look where you needed to, young man.
The old man pointed somewhere in front of the cart, where everyone was looking at, because I was curious and it helped me forget a whole cart of strangers mocked my enthusiasm. I looked too. The old man pointed somewhere in front of the cart, where everyone was looking at, because I was curious, and it helped me forget a whole cart of strangers. Mocked my enthusiasm. I looked too. Is that sentence weird? Holy shit! I shivered in disgust. I had to put my hand in front of my mouth so I wouldn't puke. What is this? Are these zombies? What's going on? It wasn't rare to see those things walking around Arkan, but I never saw that many in the same place. 2 walking corpses were in the way, making our coachman use his whip with force. The craziest thing was the fact that the horses were more afraid of the whip's sounds than the monsters in front of them. Instead of being panicked and trying to escape, they only snorted when the owner used their whip. Proud man? The hell are you doing, dude? That's not how you make them go away. One of the passengers, probably suicidal, got down. He took something from the ground and threw it violently on the nearest corpse. It fell down, jaw tore apart, and the second one tumbled as if it tried to step back. Aha! Right in the face. Go on, roll over them now. We can keep going. The fool got back in the cart, greeted by his ovationing peers. He earned pats on the back. Some people promised to buy him beer later. Others were thrilled by his actions. I was the only one still staring at the corpses, fearing one of them would rise again and attack. As the cart rolled over them, as it was requested by the man who cleared the way, it swayed like a boat rattled by waves, making the other travelers laugh. I felt like an idiot who couldn't figure the punchline of a joke until the old man next to me started talking.
Are you alright, young man? You're livid all of a sudden.
I'm fine. I don't like these things.
You never saw any undead wanderers before? Key word, I guess.
When the blue word appears, its meaning is added to the journal. When a purple word appears, its meaning is updated in the journal. It's filled with raves. Just press J. Okay, let's try pressing J, guys. Let's see. Let's open up our encyclopedia. Within the rising dead, the undead wanderers are the most pathetic. Okay, what? They are walking corpses, unable to think, and they did not keep any memories of their lives. They are empty shells, slowly rotting, attacking any life form on sight. If their bodies haven't started decomposing yet, they're as fast and as strong as they were when breathing. Their bite is lethal and leaves the victim agonizing for days. There's no cure for it yet. Oh, okay, I guess. Oops. What was that? What was that flashback? I can't make fun of them like they do. Who? Someone you know die? I quickly checked on the others, worrying about their possible angry reaction if I had just talked a little bit too loudly, since they were older and had way more knowledge than I had. Luckily for me, no one was paying attention to us and our conversation. The heavy silence we knew during the trip was over now. Every man was explaining how he would have dealt with those wrecked if he had time to. Wrecked? Okay. I looked back at the old man, looking for a way to express my knowledge, to express my feelings, without sounding like a scared little boy. These things are actually... They... They're monsters! Why does it sound like you just smacked him in the face? Nice, Rave. You don't sound like a baby at all. I didn't know how to call them anyway. I didn't even understand why the horses weren't scared by them. The things could kill. They had done it many times. How could anyone let them wander in the middle of the road? Speaking of, what were they doing in the middle of the way? Don't they have inquisitors in the big city? Oh, inquisitors, guys. Let's look this up. Inquisitors are the most respected military force of Archon. Not like those foolish Salvateurs. They deal with the dead who rise. They fight when needed and make sure no one can hurt a living human being. Of course they do, but they don't have to deal with those. They're already taken care of. Taken care of? They were alone. Did you see what they were doing, young man? I opened my mouth to reply that yes, I was even the only one paying attention, but quickly closed it again. I actually focused on the fact that those wrecks were walking freely rather than what they were doing. Rex? Is that... Rex is a nickname for these? Okay, I guess. When I remain silent, the old man smiles. They were clearing the snow from the... Oh, wait. They were clearing the snow from the way, and since we're progressing so fast, I can say they made a really good job. Are you kidding me? I opened my eyes so much they started to hurt. Sure, I didn't know much about the dead, but I wasn't born yesterday either. However, the dead had risen again, be it a rotten, a ghoul, a vampire. They all needed to eat living human flesh to survive. Alright, let's check out... Oh my gosh, we have so much pieces of information. There's a text every citizen in Archon must know by heart. When the cause of death isn't old age nor disease, there's a chance the dead will rise again. It happens when they don't accept their death. They don't want to disappear and reject the immaterial world so hard nothing can make them go there. They're bound to this world by regret, hatred, or revenge. The only way to preserve yourself and keep you from becoming one of those monsters is to live an honest and pious life. What if you just burn their corpse after death? Unlike the undead warriors, ghouls kept their consciousness and memories. They have superhuman strength and huge claws. They can hide within their skin. Being forced to feed on others to survive, they are psychologically unstable and way more violent than the other dead. Their bite leave their victims agonizing for days before dying. No cure. Vampires are a higher type of undead with sharp and pointy teeth. They need human blood to live and can't stand the sunlight, which is why you can only see them at night. Okay. It was the only thing keeping them going. Feed to avoid another death. Why would they do such a thing as clearing the road? I'm not kidding at all. Ever heard of the Valence? No. He's starting to get on my nerves with all those questions. Explains everything. What you sow is anything... What? What you sow is anything but special when you know what the family can do. That doesn't make sense, does it? Thanks to them, we don't have to fear the dead anymore. They turn them into puppets, obedient and docile, that even let cart roll over them without moving. That even let carts roll over them without moving? I feel like there's a few mistakes throughout this man. His admiring tone made me shiver. He kept explaining the things to me, and there was nothing I could do to prevent him. He decided to talk about this family and their abilities, and nothing could make him stop, not even my loud sighs. Luckily for me, I was used to pretending to listen to long speeches. My father was a philosophizing drunk, and he often drank. I started to nod here and there, adding some yes and hum too, waiting for the trip and the old man's speech to end. It took about 15 more minutes to get there. The coachman stopped near the space made for horses, a few feet away from the fortifications, and greeted the two men standing by the entrance with a wave. These ones were here to prevent anything illegal or dangerous from getting inside the capital, as if the giant fortification and huge gate weren't enough for safety. I'm kind of thinking the guy on the left is pretty cute. His eyes look like they're piercing me. Ooh. Isn't he? He looks a little bit cute. Can he take off his helmet so I can know for sure? The men both wore blue fabric where the Salvatore's arms were embroidered, allowing everyone to know which military force they represented. I couldn't help myself and smiled seeing the blazon. It took a special training to become a Salvatore, with months, sometimes years of training to be allowed to wear the arms. It must have been infuriating to have worked so much and end up standing in the snow checking people in and out. Once the cart stopped, the passengers got down one by one. I took my bag and made it do the same. I stood up a little the past few days. I stood up so little the past few days, straightening up almost made me dizzy. As I waited for the most people to get down, I offered my arm to the old man, remembering the politeness rules my mother worked so hard for me to learn. Ah! Did someone just beat me? At the exact same time, the old man took my arm. A terrible scream echoed behind my back. That sound effect, whenever they use it, it just sounds like someone's getting hit. The hero, the man so many people promised drinks for a lifetime, was crawling on the ground, nose buried in the dirt, muddy snow, arms reaching out for something. Anything he could hold on to as his bulging eyes stared at something under the cart. Every other passenger around took a few steps back, avoiding being too close as he was infected. In 2 seconds they put 60 feet between the man that was a hero before and themselves. Some covered their mouths in disgust and horror. Others kept moving back. Some even called for help towards the gate, but none came to help the man. Even the old man seemed afraid all of a sudden, his hand squeezing my arm so hard I could feel his nails in my skin, even through my clothes. Once again, I was the only fool for not knowing what was happening. Then there was a sound, a horrifying sound, the sound of skin ripped off, of flesh being torn and chewed. There were raucous wails and heavy breathing. Then eventually the smell of a tum you didn't dig deep enough, of a meat rotting on the road, filled with insects and worms. No shit, what's going on with him? I slowly looked down at the man's leg. His clothes were... His clothes were dyed red and deathly hands were gripping to them to prevent him from running away. What was left of the bony skin dayed into his calf and ripped half the muscle, uncovering a part of the bone. Luckily for my stomach, I couldn't see what the monster was up to with the rest of the leg, but hearing what I heard, I had a pretty clear image of what the poor man was going through. Help him, get safe, slay and protect the old man. I like this side profile we're getting of Rave right here. Is this how he looks right now? He just has his arms crossed and he's just like, I don't know about this. I don't think I should help him. Stay and protect the old man, get safe, help him. I don't know. I wish I was streaming this right now, but my computer is broken, so I couldn't even stream this. I guess we could... What's the difference between help him and stay and protect the old man? What's the difference? I kind of want to be a pussy. I'm not about, you know, saving you from the wrecks. As any normal human being, I chose to get to safety, or to be true, my legs chose for me. Like, bye bitch, you're on your own. Afraid the undead wanderer would grab me too, I took a run up to jump out of the cart. Trying to ignore the poor man screaming for help, I joined the closest travelers, hoping someone fit for the job would come and fix this. Shivering, I noticed I forgot someone in the hurry. Luckily for the old man, the things down there rather feasted than looked up. I could have stayed with him if my legs hadn't moved on their own. The first one, lacking its jaw, tore it apart with his fingers, while the other whole gnawed at the bone he first scraped clean. The closest man around me put one of his hands against my mouth not to puke. Scared man. Those are like the ones we saw earlier, right? I think. As we understood, the coachman made a mistake rolling over the undead corpses to entertain his clients. One of the guards walked to the monsters, probably to save our companion. Unlike every other person here, the guard remained calm and quiet, as if it was but a boring routine. Still, the old man told me the people of the capital were more used to obedient dead than hungry ones. I simply had to look around. All my traveling mates were petrified, discovering for the first time what a dead one could do. The guard walked towards the eating wrecks, not even batting an eye. That's how you recognize professional, I couldn't do anything but nod. To be honest, the Salvatores appeared a little cooler now. Such a neutral face. In the front of danger. I could have given everything to be I would have given everything to be as brave. I kind of want to suck on their neutral faces though. I was barely good enough to run away, not even caring about what was around. The guard lazily drew his sword out, but instead of slaying the two feasting monsters, he stabbed through the man's heart. What? I could hear his last painful breath, even 60 feet away. It was worse than watching the monsters actively chewing on his leg. I don't know if it was because I just had nice thoughts about them, or if I was angry at myself for not doing anything to prevent the situation, but I suddenly felt betrayed. But why did he do that? Wasn't he supposed to save him? They really need to stop that sound effect though. That needs to be taken out. He got bitten. Oh, I mean, he got bitten. Kid, what did you want him to do? It was merciful to kill him right now instead of letting him become one of these things. Was it what the man meant when he talked about professionals? Being able to kill a man begging for help without a blink? Oops. Let's open up our journal. Salvatore. The Salvatores deal with everything that is living related. They treat and punish crimes. They watch over people in the city they're in. Since they punish more than they protect, they aren't as popular as the other order inquisitors. They're first-class assholes. Okay. The Salvatore turned to his colleague, pointing to the scene with a nod, as if he was pointing to a vulgar bag of fertilizer hindering the passage. Oh my god. They really need to cut it out with that sound effect. Guard with a sword. Don't expect me to clean up all that mess. Don't count on me either. I'm not paid to clean up after the Valence. The man with the sword smiled, then seemed to realize something. He turned to the coachman, suddenly colder in his tone. By the way, how did it happen? We'll have to explain to our bosses why we have a dead body here, and it has to be a damn good reason. The coachman, already pale because of the awful show he had to watch, was now shivering. He seeked for help, looking around, but no one moved an inch. You saw what happened. They hung on the cart. I have nothing to do with that. Look again. They did not hang on. Their bells got stuck in the wheels. You rolled over them or something. Yes, but they were in the middle of the road. I couldn't avoid them. The other Salvatore sighed loudly. How can you be so stupid? You've been coming and going in and out for years, and you still don't know how the Valence magic works? They can cover precise areas, idiot. If you drag the dead away, you're not safe anymore, and you end up eaten. He vaguely gestured to our dead companion as an example. At least we don't have to wonder who's going to clean up anymore. Aha, true. Since you've been stupid enough to roll over those wrecks, you'll be allowed to get in only when you'll have that fixed. If I were you, I'd start right away. The more you wait, the worse the smell. The driver glanced at the corpse that was once his passenger, then hardly swallowed. He nodded, knowing very well he couldn't complain or change their mind, and got closer to his cart.
He's just getting a slap on the wrist? He got somebody killed, and now his only punishment is... Alright, you killed somebody, and that was really bad of you. As punishment, you have to clean up their dead body. Is that it? Is that all you have to do if you kill somebody? The laws are really lax.
Without paying much more attention, the man with the spear took out a scroll and started calling for the people written on it. Whenever one of them was called, the other Salvatores searched for them in their bags before letting them in. As simply...
Oh, what was that? The day just suddenly got brighter?
As simply as that, we had moved on. Legs still shaking, I tried to think about something, anything else as I looked at the fortifications and the gate. Once close, I could see how gigantic it was. Gigantic. The door. Yes, the door was as high as the fortifications and could allow 3 houses to get through if it was possible to move them. Many arms were showing in my little knowledge, and with my little knowledge I could recognize the royal family's emblem. Seeing it made me smile. There were 3 crests my father made me remember, the Salvatores, the Inquisitors, and the royal families. According to him, it was the best way to keep out of trouble. At least with that, you know who not to fight with, he said. Are they really going to open that?
The door? We have to get in, don't we?
I was impressed and couldn't wait to see the huge construction open for us to get through, until someone pointed out the fact that the Salvatores used another door, way smaller, to let people in.
Oh, I see it.
Why do they even build something as awesome if they never use it? Disappointed, I looked grumpy when the Salvatores holding the spear said my name. Hands in my pockets, I got closer, glancing at the tiny door's side, like it killed my parents.
Rabier?
Yes?
Called here to join the academy?
Too busy getting over the fact I'd never see the huge gate open, I missed the cocky smile of the man with the sword. He looked at the scroll his colleague was holding as if he checked something, then looked back at me, smiling even wider.
The Mages Academy.
Yes. Why? Is there a problem?
You're a mage, and instead of helping someone who's getting eaten with your magic, you run away and take cover? Are you trying to play us, kid? Do you know lying about who you are can cost you your head?
Hey, I wasn't lying. I'm just a big pussy, okay? I wasn't about to get myself bitten for that douchebag. Come on. I'm not lying about anything. I just don't know very well how to use magic, that's all.
Don't know very well? Isn't magic natural to you? Leave him alone. He's a kid. He panicked.
I didn't know if I was grateful or angry at that. Not even noticing the Deathclayer's partner gave him, angry he couldn't have fun, the Salvatore kept going.
Elemental or unusual magic? Ooh, we don't know what that means. Elemental magic? There are 3 kinds of elemental magic: fire, water, air. A mage is born with one of them. Usually a person learns about their ability very early, but sometimes depending the birth and way of living or even social status, it's hard for a child to develop their potential and use their magic. That's what happened with Rave. Okay. Unusual magic, another kind of magic? Okay.
Elemental, I think, what's the difference again?
Good. It'll make things easy. Use it so you can prove you're really who you claim to be.
Don't you want my convocation notice instead? I have it in my pocket. Setting the suspicious look on the Salvatore's face, I raised my right hand. To be honest, magic was new to me. Only a few were gifted with it, and I didn't master it at all. When the others discovered they could use magic about the time they learned to walk, I knew about it 3 months prior to this trip. I had a considerable delay compared to other mages, and the whole world realized it as soon as I tried to use it. It was a hell of a complex. Cheeks burning at the thought of making myself look like a fool in front of 2 Salvatores and the few travelers who had not yet entered the capital, I was trying to focus on the palm of my hand to form something. I needed all my concentration to create a tiny squall where the other mages of my age would have created a tornado the size of a man. My performance was strong enough to flush out the list that the Salvatore held in his hand, but not to impress anyone.
Well, when you're not used to it, magic is impressive. At least now I understand why you did not use it. It would have helped much. It wouldn't have helped much.
The sneer that I got along with his remark made me regret not having directed the squall towards him. His colleague nudged him in the ribs to silence him and went back to his list to be able to cross out my name. Now sure that I did not steal the identity of anyone. They checked my bag, gave me a plan to go to the academy, then moved away from the ridiculous little door to let me in. The Salvatore with the spear greeted me one last time, finishing his sentence with a sarcastic tone that he managed to contain during all of our exchange.
Welcome to the capital, Mr. Mage.
Oh, I don't want to say goodbye to him. Even though the Salvatore gave me a plan, I couldn't find my way alone. I had to ask for help from passerbys, and many of them did not stop when I called them. I, who came from a village where everyone helped everyone, had quickly disillusioned. I was not of a very timid nature, and yet in the front of the cold and heavy glances of judgment that I was given as soon as I dared to say hello, I ended up no longer daring to speak to anyone. It was only at the entrance of the capital, where was, according to my plan, the residential area, that I had been able to receive help. It was also the neighborhood where I felt the least out of place. The inhabitants were dressed with fabrics much more colorful than those that we wore at Lulé, but there was some kind of there was the same kind of stalls, the same men screaming at passerby to look at their products, and the same kids running around without anyone knowing why. Where the atmosphere differed greatly was the smell that came from all the streets. It was even more unpleasant than the infectious manure our neighbors used as fertilizer. It was as if someone had emptied their latrine on a pile of vomit and covered it with spoiled meat that even the rats would not want. It was so atrocious that I seriously thought about walking home, fearing that the academy would have exactly the same smell. Happily, the more you moved towards the royal palace, the more this infection was dissipated, until it disappeared completely when you reached the upper quarters. In the end, it disappeared at the same time as the friendliness of the people around, as if living in the most horrible stench of the world made people much kinder. The high quarters were separated from the rest of the city by fortifications, similar to those around the capital, a little less high but equally impressive. I had to present my summon notice several times to have the right to go there, and each time the guards had let me pass reluctantly. Besides, all the passerby had looked at me oddly once I arrived in the high quarters. I must admit my outfit contrasted enormously with the long silk coats and embroidered stuff worn by the inhabitants of this part of the city. The streets were immaculate, and even the floor seemed cleaner than my clothes. On one hand, I felt relieved to not have spent the next 3 years in the neighborhood with the unbearable odors. On the other hand, I would have rather lived in a more welcoming atmosphere. It did not matter where I put my eyes. Nothing seemed familiar to me. I did not even recognize the fruits sold on the stalls. I ended up finding the academy after several hours running around in vain. Finally! Lord, this city is a complete maze. I thought I'd never find it. I had seen a lot of magnificent buildings on my way, each surpassing the one before in beauty, but the academy seemed warmer. 2 guards were lost in deep conversation, both seemingly unable to agree on what matters the most to every breeding-age male: how to put a woman in your bed. A woman! Perish the thought. The first one thought patience and kindness were the best tools to succeed, and the other one assumed they only seek strength. I couldn't bring myself to end such a fascinating discussion. I left them to their argument for a few minutes before making my presence known by the courteous way I knew, loudly clearing my throat. Cough, cough. Excuse me? They aren't as cute as the other guys.
Bearded man number 1. What are you doing here, kid?
We don't do charity. Get out. I had dealt with that arrogant look so many times before. I should have been immune to it. It was one time too much. Had they not been armored, and able to throw me in jail for all eternity, I'd have taught them to respect the same way my father did with me, with fists in their stomach. I'm a student here. Let me in, please. The two bearded men exchanged a look, then laughed out loud.
That's a good one.
Never heard that one before. Do you have more of these jokes? Are you perhaps the secret son of the king? A few people stopped by and stared, wondering what was causing the guards to laugh. I could feel my cheeks burning at their whispers, fists tight as I kept repeating myself. They're armed to calm myself down. I have a convocation notice to prove that. I should have started with that. When they heard the word convocation, they went from amused to surprised. One of the guards walked to the monsters, probably to save our companion. What? One of the guards walked from the monsters, probably to save our companion? What is he talking about? They stared at me as I searched every pocket in my clothes, trying to find the piece of paper, slowly smiling again as I changed colors, understanding my pockets were empty. Damn it, I might have lost it last time I showed it.
Let me guess. You lost it, haven't you?
You should have made a fake one. Could have worked.
Are you kidding? Pretty sure the moron can't even write.
Why are they being assholes? Who are these douchebags? I swear I had it earlier. I can do magic if you want me to. That's what I did to get inside the cat. One of them grabbed me by the arm, shutting me right away. He wasn't laughing at all anymore and kept staring in blatant disregard.
Did you think we were idiots? Have you seen yourself? Even slaves don't smell as bad as you. You want a place to sleep tonight? The city's drains would be great for you, trust me. It's better than the cell I'll throw you in if you keep treating us like imbeciles.
Jesus Christ, why are they so... Damn. He was all but anger, and his eyes promised me the threatening was more than serious. The swearing was too. I had to act quickly if I didn't want my first day to end awfully. Fight? Use magic? They're armed? I don't think I should be fighting them. We already pretty much established that we have shit magic. They're armed. If only I'd been at home, they'd have been only other farmers. I could have stuck my fists in their faces without fear of ending up in prison or worse, finding myself with a sword in the stomach. Throat dry, swallowing my rage, I set my arm free while glaring at the guard. Fine, I get it. I took a few steps back to get away and find another way in, before bumping into a wall. Who's this? Our first love interest? Ooh. I think I'm going to end this episode here, guys. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode where we see what this dashing, powerful man might help, how he might help us. Bye, guys.